Got it. Welcome to World Unity Week on June 19th of 2023. I am welcoming Eva Millauer for a second day. She has been developing the practice of embodiment as the one heart over 2 decades. What started with the exploration of dancing, powerful, non-dual poetry has now become an in-depth self-inquiry into the language and embodiment of the reality of non-separation through the heart, as well as the in-depth inquiry into the mechanics of apparent separation. The embodiment as the foundation course, which has been on trial for over a year, is now being made publicly available. Thank you, Eva, for your work. It's beautiful. We've had some rather amazing things happen over the last, the chaos of the world managed to land deeply in my life with World Unity Week and Zoom and so much going on. And Eva, can you speak to any of that for me?
Yeah, would you like to bring up something particular about it that's moved you, that's touched you, that's felt disturbing, that felt challenging, whatever feels like the most significant aspect of what's been going on for you?
Yesterday, oh no. I just turned down that call. Yesterday, I could have really pinpointed a really distressing thing that happened. But today, what's really impactful for me is a meeting I had with Mayor Cromwell, who who speaks to Mother Earth, and Mother Earth speaks to and through her. And it was most amazing and beautiful. And I do want to bask in that feeling just for a moment, because I know that I have to go back to the chaos of yesterday and the fallout of the Zooms and Mama Gaia loves me and she loves you. And I want to hold that just for a moment. I look forward to watching that recording. I had to move from the after chat Zoom room because there was a conflict of times where her recording was going to be happening at the same time as the after chat was going on. So I had to bring her over to my Zoom room, and I forgot about the time limit, which is only 40 minutes. So I've got 40 minutes of Mare and Mama Gaia that I am going to bask in. And there is that issue that happened, and that's what I want to go to, is the issue that happened in World Unity Week in the youth plenary event. Youth Speaks Out. In that event, Dr. Marty brought 3 young Black people to speak to us, and at least that's what I was told. They didn't seem to be all Black. I don't know. What can you tell these days? We all are a mixture and we're all beautiful. And in the chat, a Zoom bomber basically threw a bomb and was tossed out. But in my shock, it was in the chat, and in my shock, I forgot I could just turn off the chat and I didn't have to look at it. But they shut off the chat, so there was no apologies from anybody or anything. And so I sat with those words staring me in the face, and I was so upset by anyone referring to these beautiful people that I went into reaction. I was deeply triggered. And so I decided I would write a post. And I went over to the hub, and they received me beautifully, and they allowed my explosion and redirected the power of it towards writing. And so I did. I wrote a post, and while I was doing the last run through, Ben came in and talked to me about the post, and I shared it with him, and he brought to my attention that in that first draft, I had made him the bad guy, and that wasn't what was supposed to happen at all. He is a gem. He is beautiful in all he does and all he says. And I was just so upset. I didn't realize the tone that was coming across. And so I was able to change that before I posted it, and I was so grateful. And I've had good response from people to the post. And so it is all coming to, it needs to have the community speaking to this. We cannot ask our leaders to make decisions for us. We cannot give our power to people anymore. We need to be present in our power.
Yeah.
And yes, please.
Do I hear right that basically whatever that person said was very abusive, right? So we don't need to go into the wording, or you prefer not to go into the wording, but it was very abusive of someone in the meeting, right?
Referring to color.
Yeah, okay. So, and then the chat was just shut off without it being, but it was mentioned within the session, right? It was mentioned within the session, but not directly, or not?
Dr. Marty doesn't believe that the chat should have been shut off. The person should have been ejected, and he was, but the community should have been able to respond to what had happened. And so she requested that this not be allowed to just roll past, that we address it. And she spoke to the issue to the young people on the council, or on the panel that was presenting. And in that, we were allowed to see the beauty of the young people. The one young man of 16 years old talked to the wisdom of hurt people hurt people. And that, I have to find that recording because he is so beautiful, and it affirms my belief in the youth of today, the need for us as community to come together to heal the wounds that keep happening. Because if we had been allowed to continue in the chat, that would have been healed. But it was healed by Dr. Marty because of her not allowing those words to pass by. It was beautifully done. And it calls upon the leaders of these Zoom meetings to learn how to respond to things like this.
Yeah.
So we are learning.
This is very beautiful. Yeah. It is so important to look those situations right in the eye. That's exactly what I feel too. And that's exactly what the practice of embodiment as on heart does as well. So one of the it reminds me of one of the types of self-inquiry that I've developed over time. So when someone says something to me that I find deeply hurtful or deeply degrading or deeply offensive or anything of that type, I look at what was said to me, and I'm not saying this is what's happening in this case. Yeah, this is just an example of how I work with those type of, I mean, Zoom session now, darling. Anything you want, baby. So, but what I very often find is whenever something is thrown at me that hurts me, in a lot of situations, it is something where I have formed some internalized belief around that very thing that was said, but I haven't seen it. And someone else suddenly says it to me. And it's almost like I get the feeling if there is a conflict situation, right? If we have a conflict situation where where two parties are very triggered, we tend to exactly know what to say that hurts the other person. We know exactly what it is. And we just know, we just pick it up. And to me, that says that we are not only one in oneness, we are one in separation also, very one, which is why when our survival mechanisms kick in, we know exactly how to activate that in someone else, because we feel, the idea is that we feel safer when someone else feels scared or threatened. But that obviously isn't how it truly works. This is just the inheritance of generations of humanity not being so good at a lot of things yet, including myself. There's always so much more to learn, and especially in the area of conflict, of personal attack, of emotional abuse, of verbal abuse. In all these areas, I find there is often so much treasure underneath those situations that we can uncover if we don't let those moments slip by. And it seems already like this has begun to happen in that session. That treasure has bubbled up. It has magnified the beauty of that session. So in some bizarre ways, I sometimes call these sort of moments the medicine. So instead of the medicine sometimes takes shapes we don't want it to take. I mean, usually it's the ones that we really don't want it to take. It's usually the most powerful medicine for me. It's the ones I really don't want to deal with. That I really don't want to, where I really am so upset that someone said that, and I want to make that person the terrible perpetrator forever, and really there is some really profound treasure in it.
But moments of medicine. I love that. That's so beautiful. We need medicine. But I got to tell you that I play with acronyms.
Yeah.
And that is MOM, moments of medicine. Well, what has been the meaning for mom before has been the magic in ordinary moments. And sometimes it's not just the magic in ordinary moments. Sometimes it's mixing our medicines. And now there's a third one, moments of medicine. And gosh, we need those moments of medicine in our life. Mom.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that I in any way endorse any racism towards anyone spoken in any way, absolutely not, or that I say this is a good thing if it happens because it brings stuff up. I don't mean it in that way at all.
No,
But
I understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
The fact that something like that erupted in World Unity Week, actually, in retrospect, it can be seen as a blessing, but only because we have the separation of time from the happening that was. I never want to see anything like that ever again. But to accept it as medicine in that moment, to catalyze a conversation that needed to happen in order to create the enfolding of the one that we are, that is seeking to know itself, it cannot see itself if itself is not activated. And
Yeah.
if we all just lie back and say we are one, we're never going to get to know the depths of who we are. This one that we
Yeah,
are.
yeah, yeah. I've been to a really similar process with embodiment as the one had, because for quite a long time I believed that all I need to do is do these sessions that just naturally unfold, and they're just like so unique, and they're just, people just get so blissful every time, and it works every time. And I just literally believe that all I need to do is keep doing them, and then suddenly people will get it and they will just do it themselves, right? That's what I thought. And it did not happen that way. It did not. Suddenly you got all these the separative parts in us are so clever, right? And I find extremely tricky are the ones that pretend to be spiritual. Do you know these ones? These ones that pretend to be love and enlightened and so spiritual, and really they are just exactly the same old game of blame and accusation and power over and dominance, and it's exactly the same. It's just nowadays it gets clouded in all this spiritual language, and then you have to go look for what's actually happening so much more. And I found that as soon as I started to realize that things like this were starting to happen in groups of people that were doing this work for longer, I felt like I needed to begin to address this, and that brought up a lot of resistance in people. And they didn't want to do a course, where you really learn the foundations and where you really look into separation as well. And I was devastated. To me, this was the worst thing that could have happened, because I thought my work has fallen apart and it's all died and I can't do it and I'm not good enough and la-di-la. But only because of this, the course exists now. So again, it was one of these situations that feel like hell and like a nightmare, and like it's gonna destroy you, but actually it was exactly the medicine that I needed to be here today.
Yeah. We could never ever plan our path except outside of time before we embody, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what will work, and so the old you're going to make a plan. We have to realize that those plans are helpful, and in order to align with other people, we need to plan, but we also have to plan for the flexibility to follow mom's guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that I introduced you to mom. because I talk about mom all the time. I see mom in sequences and sets of numbers that I see on my iPad or my iPhone when I open them to do something, not expecting any time in particular. And there's 11:11 or 12:34 looking at me, and it's whoa. Or the exact top of the hour. These are the instances of mom that allow me to stop what I'm doing in my pell-mell, going through life, to stop me and remind me that spirit is with me in every moment. And in those moments, I acknowledge her. I say, thanks, mom, because, when mom shows up, you got to acknowledge her. It's just a different way of looking at spirit. And I find it a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. That makes me feel maybe we could do some embodied connecting with the earth and with infinity in an embodiment as own heart way. Would you be curious about that?
I would be very curious about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay, let's give that a go. So are you at the moment sitting somewhere on a chair comfortably?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have your feet on the ground?
I can make that so. I'm a little shorter now. Yeah.
Okay. So the invitation is you can either have your eyes open or close them. I feel like closing them at the moment. Just be with the body more. And just drop into whatever primary sensation of the body is right now. And just feel it, recognize it, notice it. Where is it? What does it feel like? Is there any tension somewhere? Is there any intense sensations from all the excitements that have been happening anywhere in the body? And just allow them to be. And if it feels right, just embrace them. Just embrace them with love. Just finding out what's there. And when you feel ready, just feel into your feet. And have a sense of how the feet touch the ground. What is the sensation there? Are the feet solid, touching solid? Or is there a sense of energy communicating between the ground and the feet? Are the boundaries between ground and feet somewhat blurred? What does it feel like there? And I know we're sitting in houses, but can we feel the earth energy through the floor of the house? Is it possible to feel right down, literally infinitely down into whatever magic the earth is? The magic of soil, the magic of plants, the magic of rock, the magic of fire in its core, the magic of gravity. All of that. So do you feel a strong connection there that feels easeful, powerful, restful, nurturing? Does it give you a sense that the body and the earth are one? Is it one organism of aliveness? All of this. And when you feel ready, let's feel what is around the body. Can you feel yourself inside the body and also outside the body? Can you feel yourself extending to the walls of the house, of the room, and to beyond? Are the walls transparent? Can energy move through them? Are you bigger than the house? And maybe you want to raise your arms up and feel how far the reach feels. How far do you reach? Does the reach end at the fingertips? Or does it go up and up and up and up through the ceiling, through the roof of the house, into the sky? And if it feels right, maybe you want to put one hand on your heart and have a sense of that connection that may be occurring now between the earth and the body and the sky and infinity as one, which also may be putting our bodies sitting on different continents into the same room, literally, into the same room of earth and sky and air and infinite being, outshining and being all of this. And if it feels right, you can open your eyes. And maybe you want to meet mine when mine are open and see how we meet now. If how we meet now in the one room, in the one room of life.
It's good to share this room with you.
Thank you.
I love your hat.
Yeah, that one loves that room too. He loves the waves.
That was
hello, arrival.
well, without a camera, nobody can see him. I am going to mute them, and so we can just continue.
Yeah, so whoever you are who is turned up, feel free to switch your camera on anytime and participate anytime you feel like it. Okay.
Thank you so much. It's nice to share this bounteous room with you, this infinite room with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the ability that you have to help me to calm the chaos within is deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And then we can simply allow the chaos within to just be what it is, as long as it feels like it needs a space. But it can also just evaporate sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. That's a lovely thought. Yeah.
Sometimes it just becomes meaningless. I've been um, in interesting situations where there was some intense conflict, but we were both practicing embodied oneness and embodiment as the one heart. And we were able to completely go there instantly. So we could be opening up that level of embodied oneness with each other in an instant, despite whatever the conflict was. It made no difference at all, which is so interesting, because it really shows how this realm of separation and the ideas of separation, they have such limited frequencies in which they can only survive. And there is so much more of us that is beyond all of that. And if we can activate that and then look at whatever has come up from there, that I find really powerful.
I love the name of the course that you've developed, the embodiment of the one heart. And I think of the chambers of the heart, and I feel that we are sitting within a chamber of the heart of the one we are.
Oh, maybe that brings us to a section of the course. Shall we look at something in the course?
Oh, let's
Yeah,
do that. Yes.
because there is something I have felt into very much about this process. Let's just have a look. Around the heart. I feel one could write a whole course just about the heart. There is so much I feel we don't understand yet about the heart, and how it is like another brain. How
Mhm.
it is like how apparently I've heard, it's was that from the Heart Math Institute. The heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain to the heart, or something like this.
Yeah, the heart
Yeah.
sends more signals than the brain does, and I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
actually starts in the heart, and the brain catches up. Uh, I,
Exactly. That's what my feeling is, and that is also what embodiment as the one heart does. Because now let's first go to the heart. I'm already jumping to the next thing. There's so much in this. There's so much in this. Let's go to the heart first. Um, yeah, because the process is very interesting, because I find I can detect energetically 3 different types of heart, right? One is the human physical heart. One is like the heart center, or what people call the heart chakra, that can feel warm and compassionate and open and loving, but it's still connected to a sense of being part of an entity. And then there's something that I would call the universal heart, which is literally the one heart, which is to me like all of life is lived by that, which then can come through the physical. So it literally begins to shine out through the body, but it's not your personal heart anymore. It's beyond that. So let me just see. Yeah, this is, yeah. So at some point I created this little Let us see, what is this? Yeah, maybe we can just read this bit here. I developed an image to express that fully developed human as the one heart. I first wondered if I needed an image of a physical body, but then felt that 2 hands were enough. The head is replaced by the circle of infinite light anyway, and the body could be represented as the color red coming from the ground up, meeting the light and also transmitting it. The heart operating like a motorway junction, aligning every possible communication through the body to non-separate reality. So that is like the very simple image that I get. So when I move and when I do this poetry, this is the image that I get, that this is what happens. So it doesn't feel like it's my mind speaking, you know, my Eva's verbal mind speaking. It doesn't feel like that. And it feels like there is a lot of energetic things going on, the downward motion of the light, the communication of light, it all moving through the heart, just like this picture shows. And then I felt like making that more into a diagram. I aim to capture and communicate the multidimensionality of this process in this 2-dimensional diagram. So we have the incomprehensible, non-separate reality beyond reference, outshining all, entering through the head, radiating through the body. Okay, that's you. And me. And that's where we feel one, in that, because in that we are one, because that's life, right? And that is aligning the 3 hearts that I just described as one. The physical human heart and the universal one heart, aligning, the physical heart, the human heart, so meaning the heart chakra, and the universal one heart, aligning the psychic multidimensional, feeling, cognition, body resonance, right? So it all becomes one process. I cannot separate between these things anymore. It's all just like one big, one big process. And it's aligning the 3 bodies as one in the one heart. The physical body, the planet body, the universal multi-no-dimensional body.
Wow.
Right?
Man, trying to put all of those concepts into one 2-dimensional diagram. Oh, I'm in awe.
Does it make sense though? Does it make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah? I feel that.
Oh, good. That's good. It's great if it feels helpful, because I don't know, you know, if it feels it's always really good to know that people find it actually helpful, because it's helped me to understand more about what it is that embodiment as the one heart is, making these and writing these and finding these finding these diagrams. I've never done diagrams before this course. It was never my sort of thing, but now I'm getting quite into it. They can be helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and that brings me to the other thing that we almost touched upon earlier, about the aligning of the, I'm just going to jump to, or is there anything else you would like to ask about this particular
No,
section?
I think that's very clear, and I encourage people to stop the video and look more deeply at this if you have any personal questions, and allow the image to speak to you while you're in action with the ground and the universal heart.
Yeah, and obviously in this module there is a lot of there's a lot leading up to it, and there's lots of video examples and all sorts of things going on.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love your website. You've got so much in it.
it's gone a bit like a tree, hasn't it? It's starting to like, and then I go like, where do I put this branch? How are people gonna find that branch of the tree? It's like it's starting to have a lot of things on it. Yeah, lots of different projects that can be discovered, loads of videos. It is true.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
So let me just see them. Yeah. Yeah. So in the aligning of spoken word, we have been speaking about it. Why I find this so important, this particular module, is because it's literally teaching us how to recognize when we are verbally invoking the reality of no separation. Because we are literally retraining the verbal mind, instead of it relating to the, hey, my name is Eva, right? Type of thing, to change its identification with the reality of no separation.
From
And
me to we.
Not only we, it's to all as is. Yeah, to all as is, because we can be a word where people still, some people may see that as one, but some people may see that as loads of individuals in oneness, right? And so it's literally going beyond that also. So it's not lots of individuals in oneness. It's literally just one life that's speaking through all of us. And then what happens when we study how to align the language over time, people really begin to be able to distinguish when this frequency is alive and when there's separation. And suddenly everything separation starts to feel quite painful at some point, because we just don't enjoy it anymore, because we are so out, we've retrained to that greater reality, and separation just isn't attractive anymore. It just becomes unattractive, right? And that can be a difficult phase, because then we feel, oh, we know this now, but around us there's separation everywhere, right? But then what happens next is that we then find ways to open these pathways into no separation in our context, in our world, in our let me just find something that we could look at here. Oh yeah, okay, maybe we can just read this poem here. This was basically the first poem that I wrote after I have studied poems by Aditya Samraj and only worked with them for quite some time. There came a moment where I had to start to write my own poetry, because Aditya Samraj is quite a controversial figure. And it's not easy to get people to want to perform that somewhere, because they are nervous about association with a controversial figure, right? I've always found that the power of that poetry was so powerful for me that I still wanted to work with that, even though I also find aspects of the controversialness of his person. Clearly, you know, I clearly would agree, you know, that there's things to consider around that, but it hasn't diminished the power of those words. But then I came to this place where I needed to write my own work, because I felt I'm just a dancer, I'm just an artist. If it's my own poetry, it's not going to feel so threatening. So at that point, I had to discover, how am I going to bring that frequency into my own wording? And this was the first poem that came along once I asked this question, and it literally just appeared at 5 a.m. It just came, so I just wrote it down. And would you like to read it, Shannon?
I would love to. Thank you.
Would you like to see how it feels?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Would you like to move to it?
Oh, yes, that would be nice. I do that.
Ah,
Okay.
beautiful. In the light of everything, only love can be truth. Only beauty can flow. There is only one. There is only one. And the wondrous and amazing and mysterious all there is that can never be known only shines, only vibrates in deepest blissful silence.
Mm.
Mm. And I hold that, smell it, taste it, feel it. Mm.
Oh, thank you. You read it so beautifully. I can
Beautiful.
really feel it. I can really feel how you feel the words and how they resonate.
Mm.
Beautiful. Thank you. Mm.
Thank you so much for the words to speak.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was, by the way, another one of those medicines. You know, I wasn't accepted for the work I was doing anywhere, actually. No one wanted it. No one wanted to see it. No one wanted to hear it. And then the Sacred Music Festival wanted me to dance this poem, and they realized who Adida was, and they were like, we love the poem, but we can't risk it. We're doing this in a church, and we're already letting loads of different faith in there, and we're already having problems because of that. If there's like controversial guru in the mix, this is going to be the end of it, you know. So this was again one of these crisis moments that was the medicine that was needed, right? It was what needed to happen next. I needed to write myself, and ever since then I've written so much, and I'm so grateful that happened at the time, right? It could have been like, I can't do it, I give up, you know, couldn't it? But no, it was then bringing me to the next step. Yeah.
Oh, I love the way Mom gives us medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are given what we need when we need it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that Baha'u'llah wrote. And my roommate is a Baha'i, and a Baha'i teacher, and I'm going to interview her in the upcoming days. And I get these little glowing bits deposited in my life, and that's one of them. You know, I have experienced that. And if you're not given something, it's because you have something to learn through what you're experiencing, and what you need will come when you need it. And you don't know when or what. You deal with what you have, and trust that Mom's going to show up with what you need when you need it. Yeah.
Mm.
It's beautiful.
Mm. Well, we have like 5 minutes, right?
About 5.
I have one last idea of tapping into some other aspect of the course briefly.
Oh, lovely.
Because we have spoken so much about conflict and the medicine of the challenging moments. And I would love to show you What's this? Oh, hang on. This one. I would love to show, sorry, oh, I got confused here. This one. Always when we want to rush it. Because we have not a lot of time.
It's all good.
Yeah, so in the self-inquiry of the unique understanding of separation, here we go. I made some diagrams as well that I found incredibly helpful when dynamics get really complex, and when there's dynamics where there is a reaction and we've missed it, and then we have reactions building over reactions and we don't know anymore where it started, right? I found this type of diagram really, really helpful, because it helped me to see like the bigger picture at the same time whilst being in the chaos, right? So basically I started with the reality of living as heartful life itself, seeing all possible harm as self-harm, as there is no other, right? It's always, we're always only harming ourselves when we are harming someone else ultimately. So we can start like there's a cycle, the infinite cycle of the pain of separation or contraction from life itself. And it can start anywhere really, but usually there is a frightening, hurting, saddening life event of some kind, right? And then there's a loss of sense of safety, belonging, and dignity. And that triggers fight, flight, numb, freeze, dissociate reactions. So the withdrawal into separation, right? That then leads to a loss of trust in life and sense of worth, the feeling of powerlessness. Then often there's rage and despair, internalized and repressed. And then there comes the reaction from a need of taking control, with a denial of the intense pain of causing harm. And then we have the next frightening, hurting, saddening life event, right? And that's how it cycles around. And how, for me, it's really important to feel that I can be on any point of those. I can find myself on any point of these, and someone else can find themselves on any point of these. And the more I can identify where I am on that cycle and where other people are on that cycle, the easier I find the way out of the dynamic, because I'm not anymore stuck in the content of an intense situation like that. I'm suddenly in a sort of meta level of it, in the energy of it. I'm in the energy of it rather than in the content of it, because the content is impossible to dissect usually.
So I see a lot of pain and harm and all the negatives in there. How do you get out of that?
So basically, if you do this as a self-inquiry, the reality of non-separation is always there. That can be accessed anytime. And that is something we learn in the foundation course too, that it's just like that can be accessed in the most stressful moments. So there comes a time in the practice where you can literally have had the most excruciating emotional thing going on in your life, and you can go to a gig and they say, can you please dissolve in divine joy at 3 p.m. and you can do it. Because you can trust that reality that you are is always there. Because all you need to do is not do the chaos anymore. So not doing the chaos is actually really simple. It's just like not doing it. It's like, because that's the doing part. That's the activity part.
Yeah.
The reality of no separation is there. That's just sitting there. That's not going to go anywhere. So once that practice becomes alive in someone, this is why I made these little orange bubbles to those painful bits, because this is still there, right? The living as half or life itself is still present. It's still surrounding everything. It's still embracing everything. And once you notice, oh, I'm in the loss of sense of safety, belonging, and dignity, you can step, if you've been practicing embodiment as on heart, you can step right back into there potentially, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
I'm thinking back to the chaos that we started this meeting with, and all of that stuff, and what I did before I came into the meeting was stepped out of that in order to greet you, Eva, and then you invited me to go back into it, and in order to explore the experience, and I can step out of it and then step back into it in order to deal with it and heal the issues and deal with the problems, and then step back out of it and be in the oneness, and it is a voluntary act. You don't have to be a part of the chaos.
Yeah. And I do want to say, though, that there is times of purifying intense patterns where it doesn't feel possible.
Yeah.
Or where it's not like you're doing it wrong if you can't instantly do it. I feel sometimes we actually need these times, because they do need to sometimes process bigger things. And actually in those times I wouldn't even recommend to try and practice this, because sometimes we just need to allow that to happen. But once there is this understanding that the reality is still there, even if we can't feel it, it helps so much. It helps so much to know the reality is still there. I'm just going through this right now because I really need to go through this, and I need to explore this darkness, this depth of despair, this hurt, this numbness, this frozen, whatever it is, right?
It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
By denying it, it doesn't make it go away. It's there as it's a classroom. You need to engage in it, and it does give texture to life. And this has been so good. I value our times together. I'm so glad for World Unity Week, so that we get to have these conversations. Thank you so much, Eva, for your listening ear, your open heart, your embodiment as one heart course. I look forward to delving more deeply in it. Have you got any tidbits to, like I said earlier, planning is kind of important, although you have to be flexible. Have you got some plans for us for tomorrow?
No. Not yet. I don't like to. We tried to make a plan for today, didn't we? But then we just went with what was there, right? So usually that's what I go with. I go with what is there. What is in the space in the day, and it tends to feel like the richest way of doing it. But definitely the structure is needed as well, and the course does give that foundation.
Well, I love to flow with you. This has just been so delightful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to tomorrow. Hopefully some of the chaos will have been soothed and
Mm.
dealt with, and everything will be delightful again. Thank you so much
Thank you so
for your
much.
time today.
Thank you for the wonderful time with you.
Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Bye bye.